Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and I am back with another video. Today's video is featuring the November 2023 bi-monthly Hero Arts Kit. This is from the classic kit, these cute little owls and little like post boxes, mailboxes. This little peekaboo and the stencils are from the premium kit. I am going to be using lots of stencils today, and we're going to be talking about how to do them on dark colored cardstock. So I pulled out some of my darker colors from Hero Arts. I ended up going with Eggplant, Adriatic, and Nautical. And so we're going to do this just a couple of different ways, but all of the ways have the base of white pigment ink. That's going to be how we get the colors to show. So you can use the white pigment ink itself, and it's beautiful on dark colored cardstock. Obviously, you could use black as well. You don't necessarily even need to use a color. But I really liked the colored backgrounds. I thought that they came out cute. So I'm just going in. I'm using my sticky mat from my Altenew stamp wheel to hold my stencil in place. And I am rocking this camera all over the place. I apologize. Apparently, I was aggressively ink blending. But anywho, so I'm just using the unicorn white pigment ink from Hero Arts. I am blending that on. You're going to see here, it shows up really, really nicely. Then there is this second detail layer to the snowflake. If you're watching this later or you don't subscribe to the Hero Arts kit, you could do this with any kind of like layering snowflake, or even if you have a stencil that isn't layering, you can still make this work for you. Once I had the detail layer on, I'm going to go in with my reactive inks from Hero Arts. These kind of have like a little bit of a pigment property, and so they're more opaque than a dye ink. They do react with water, but so I'm layering these right over that white pigment ink, and you will be able to then see the color. Some of the colors you can see better than others. It helps if you have white pigment ink behind it to make it pop. And so I just chose some kind of like random, what I felt like were snowflake colors, I guess. Some purplish pinks, a purple, two blues, and a teal color. And then just went right over top of it. Now, I was experimenting with this. You guys know, if you watch my channel, that I kind of just film everything, and that means that I get to leave in my learning experiences as well as any mistakes that I make. And there's both in this video. So once I had this down, and this is just, remember, just the detail layer, you can definitely see it on the white pigment ink, which I really like. But I wanted it to be a bit bolder. So here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to go back in. See those little snowflakes? They're almost like little diamonds. Those are not part of the detail layer. So in order to add color to them, I had to go back to the first stencil, which was no problem. They're super easy to just line back up. And then I just went in using the same color inks and added color to these. You can see that here. And then to help that color kind of stand out a little bit more, I'm going to go back in with the detail layer, and I am going to put down white pigment ink on top of it. And then I'm going to do my colors again. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't even put down the colors the first time. I would just go in with the detail layer and the white pigment ink and then do the colors. But you live, you learn, once you know better, you do better kind of thing. So I'm just going to speed this along, as we have already done it once and saw it already. So I'm just going to speed this up a little bit, again, just using those same color combinations. And then I was much happier with the detail layer this time. It was much easier to see all of the details. Now you can totally skip this next part. This is just something that I like to do with my cards. I wanted to add a little bit more shimmer. And so I am using the Hero Arts Iridescent White. This does have a little bit of a like pinkish purple shimmer. And so I didn't want a full spray. I just wanted the spatters. So I just pulled out the tubing and then just kind of splattered it all over the edges. And then I'm going to set this one aside to dry, and we're going to start working on our next one. The next one does have coordinating stencils, but instead of having like a die to go with the stencils, or it has a stamp. And so here's how you can use the stencils by themselves, by the way. I just chose not to. So I am going to go in and use that same white pigment ink to stamp with after I use my anti-static tool. And then I'm going to heat set the stamp in white detail embossing powder and then add my color over top of it. This one is not really a holiday card. So if you are a person who subscribes to Hero Arts and you're like, I don't celebrate the holidays or I don't celebrate Christmas, it still has some really cute little sentiments in here. The one that I used for this card says delivered by Owl Post. But there's another one that says like hoot hoot and wishing you owl the joy, who's got mail. So there's some that don't have anything to do with the holidays, which I think makes it much more flexible. And I'm a big fan of versatility. So there are some options in here for not holiday cards. This one, I did keep the same color scheme because I like when my photos are matchy-matchy. Got a problem with that. But it is not necessarily a holiday card. These little owls are super cute, and there's one in here, I mean, you could use any of them, honestly, but there's one in here that has like a little scarf, and it totally reminds me of Hedwig, the Harry Potter owl, which I think would be really cute. So if you have a little, well, even a big one, if you have a little one or a big one that's a big fan of Harry Potter, you could use these little owl images. And then there's also some cute little like mice with presents, and like I said, the mailbox with the little posts. Those are all really, really cute. And then they have some postage stamps as well, and little things like hollies and snowflakes. It's a cute set, and they all have coordinating dies from that big main image, including the sentiments, which I love. So here we're doing the same thing with these stencils, but this one isn't kind of like random haphazard coloring like we did with the snowflakes. I am choosing specific colors. So for like the swirls, I used the soft pool. No, it's not soft pool. It's pool party. For the leaves, I used blue Hawaii. And then for the florals, I used berry smoothie. So these are much more specific colors. You could also, if you're not a stencil person, you could heat emboss this, color your images with a white colored pencil, and then color over top of that, and you would get a very, very similar look. You want something that's kind of a base to help it pop off of the darker cardstock. And when you're ink blending, that means white pigment ink, and when you're coloring, that means white colored pencil. So I think that these are super cute. You guys know that I really like getting more of the products that I have. If you are a big fan of these, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, in case you are unaware, once Hero Arts sells out of their kits, then they're gone. They don't bring them back unless they win the like kit of the year, and then they'll bring those back and make those part of it. This last stencil I'm not going to use, but I just wanted to show you that you could, if you didn't buy the stamp, then you would line up those little dots and you could do them whatever color you would like. My dots were already white from the embossing, so I did not need to use that stencil. More iridescent spray being kind of spattered on. I did it kind of like top left to bottom right so that I could connect to those images. And then for this last one, we're going to do the same thing, but it's just going to be a little bit more involved. This one, I really, really like this stencil, and this one is actually what prompted me wanting to do this theme for the video. It's a bunch of houses, and I super love them. I think they're really cute. It's like a little house border, like a little holiday house border. Well, there's nothing really holiday about it. I guess it's a little winter neighborhood would be more accurate. No, there's a Christmas tree. It's holiday. Disregard. And so you're going to go in again with the white pigment ink, go right over top of it. And then I did go in and do some selective inking on this layer. So I added the pool to the trees, and then a little bit of the blue Hawaii, that darker blue. But then I left the bases of the houses white. I didn't do anything else with them. Now that I've learned my lesson from the snowflakes, remember, when I do the next layer, I'll put the pigment ink down again and then the color. what was I saying? Oh, the kits, once they're gone, they're gone. So if you're really interested in getting them, you need to go pick them up. The classic kit does not include the snowflake stencil, but it does include the images, and a lot of other really great stuff. And that's $36.99. And then the premium kit, which includes the extra stamp set and stencils and I think some transfers, is $49.99. But once they're gone, they're gone. These techniques, though, you can use with whatever you have. So if you miss the kit or you're watching later on, no worries. You can use these with, you can do this technique with pretty much any stencil that you have. So here, this one is an add-on, by the way. They have a bunch of add-ons. So the flourishes that we did in the background of the last card, and then this one, these are add-ons, and they'll be available just always. But so now here we're going in with the second one. I did the second layer of white pigment ink, and now I am going in and again kind of selectively inking what I want. This only lasts for so long, real talk. Eventually I was just like, I'm just going to kind of add color all over because I knew I was going to do another step, and so it wasn't necessarily really going to matter as much. I talked to you before about, I know it's hard to see on camera, but you can actually see how that like white pigment ink is building up. And then this is the detail layer, the second detail layer, which has a lot more of like the roof shingles and windows and doors and things like that. And this is sped up. I don't ink blend this fast. And so I know it's difficult to see on camera, but in real life, you can see them. Now, I knew that like I was going to go forward and do some more detail work. We talked before about how you could color something in with colored pencil and use white as the base and then add your color over top to help it pop off darker colored cardstock. That's what I'm going to do here, but I'm going to use the white pigment ink as my base, and then I'm going to go in with my colored pencils and add more specific color. Now, real talk, I'm a colorist. That's what I do. But did I spend a lot of time coloring this? No, I did not. I could have like super detailed it out. But this whole stencil is a little bit kind of whimsical. And so I thought that it would be just fine to add just a layer of color and have it so that it was, not perfect. Like it's not super blended. Some of it, it's streaky. You can see the white pigment ink underneath it. I think it adds to the whimsy. I think it's super fun. But could you go in and kind of detail out all of these layers? Absolutely. You could, spend your time and color each one of the houses, and it would be like a little mini masterpiece. But that is not what I did today. Just want to be transparent with that. I just went in super quick, added color right over top of it. I think that it came out just fine. But you make your card how you want to make your card. I'm just letting you know that this is what I did. So one of the detail layers for the trees is like the, I was going to say stalk, but it's not a stalk, it's a trunk. What am I even saying? It's like the trunk and like some little detail layer branches. Originally, I went in and did these like a darker teal color. I am going to go back after the fact and do them like a gray so that they kind of stand out. But as far as like the houses are concerned, I really just picked the same colors that I was working with in the other cards. So some teals, some pinks, some purples, some blues. And then I, of course, because I have like chimney smoke and the rocks and things like that and snow, I need snow. So I did bring in just one or two grays and a white colored pencil as well. But this is super fun. This is even something like you could do, or you could let your kids do, like let them go in there with stencils, do the white pigment inking, and then once it's dry, when you're putting down the pigment ink is like blending it, it dries super fast because you're putting down such a thin layer. But then just let your kids go to town and color the images and use them as your Christmas cards. I think that would be great. My littlest is too little for that, but my oldest could definitely pull that off. And he does like coloring. So that's, something family fun activity. Everybody could color their own version of the neighborhood and, send those out. So, the last time that I think that we had chatted, we had talked about Jelly Bean's birthday coming up, and we did end up having to push her party back one day because Peanut was sick. It ended up working out. Everybody who was coming was still able to come. So we had her party yesterday. We had great weather. It didn't rain. It was sunny. I mean, it was good for Ohio in November. I think our high was like 50 something. That's a win for us. Like, that is a win for us northern folks. If you can get a sunny day in the 50s in November, you're winning. So we did that. She got lots of clothes, which we always appreciate because then we don't have to purchase them. And then she got, like, we bought her us as a family bought her like a little kitchen set and some her own pots and pans. She loves, like, you know, being in the kitchen with me and stuff. And then Peanut, she really likes the movie Rio. It's old. It's an older Disney movie, but she super loves it. So Peanut wanted to get her a stuffed animal from Rio. So we ended up finding Blue, which is the bird. And so she got that. My in-laws, Eric's mom and dad, got her like a little Minnie Mouse desk. That was the theme of her party, was like Mickey's Clubhouse. So yeah, it was really, really good. She did really, really well. Both kids were super well behaved, which is always appreciated, especially when you're running around hectic. And we just did, like, we ordered chicken and pizza, and then I made pasta and cupcakes and cake and salad and garlic bread. So now, these are just, you don't have, none of the, well, you don't have to do any of it. It's your card. I want you to do what makes your heart happy. But I wanted some more, like, spatters that looked like snow. So I am going in, and this is a mixture of Perfect Pearls and some watercolor paper spatter and snowflake, frosted snowflake, for white snowflake. That's what it's called. Why can't I remember? And so I did a mixture of that, mixed it with a little bit of water, spattered that on. And then I'm going in with my paintbrush and just kind of going right over the top of the snow for my little houses so that it has some shine to it. I thought that was adorable. And then here is coming in my boo-boo. So I wanted this to be a one-layer card. It's not, by the way. I put together, these sentiments are from the Wintertown Cheer, I think is what it's called. It's a really cute little house set. And so I treated this with my anti-static tool. I am stamping it down in that pigment. And I mean, that's the workhorse of this video, that unicorn white pigment ink. And then I am going to heat set it with some white detail embossing powder. And at this point, it is a completely one-layer card. It looks super cute. My sentiment fits perfectly. This is actually a combination of two sentiments. Fits perfectly in that little opening, which I love. And then I was just going to trim it down and mat it on a white card base and call it a day. While this little break happened, here is what happened. Do you see how it's smeared? So when you use that any anti-static tool, it leaves a little bit of powder behind. And so I checked the left-hand side to make sure that it was cool before I wiped it off. And it was, but you know what was not cool? The right-hand side. And so I smeared the embossing powder while it was still hot all along the right-hand side. I just re-stamped it on some more Nautical cardstock, cut it into a rectangle, and then popped it up. It was fine. I'm stamping these two little owls from the main kit. I am going to color both of them white so that everything kind of matches. In order to do that, I am using my Copic markers. I went back and forth about whether or not to use my colored pencils, and honestly, I'm just faster with Copics. That's the truth. The reason I don't do a lot of coloring with colored pencils is because it does take me a long time to color them the way that I want. Also, another one of the reasons why those houses just kind of got a once-over, just because it just takes me a really long time, and then I kind of lose the joy for it, where I'm much faster with alcohol markers. So in order to make these guys like whitish gray, little snow owls, if you will, I'm going in and I'm adding shading underneath their wings. This guy has quite a bit of detail on his wings. I'm not going through and adding shading to every one of those lines. I'm just randomly kind of extending out the lines, doing a little bit of flicking of color. And I'm going to do that for all 3 of the colors. For the one, this owl over here on the left, his wing is much larger. And so it's much easier to see kind of like those flicks of color that are coming out from in between his feathers. But if I did that for every single line over here, that image would just be super dark and kind of muddy. And I don't want to do that. I want him to still appear white or a light gray. So I'm just working with what I got. For the little, I colored them, like I said, all the same. I want to keep calling it a mama owl. I don't know if it's a mama owl. It's a mommy or a daddy owl snuggling up their little baby owl, which is cute. But her belly and stuff is going to be darker because the baby is snuggled in. Originally, I showed you a Y08 because I completely forgot that I was going to have to color their little talons. And I just thought I was going to have to color some beaks. But doing the little talons, I did them all the same thing with the beaks. Just started with my darkest color, worked back into my lightest. There isn't a lot of real estate, so if you didn't want to do all that shading, it would look fine if you didn't. I cut these all out with my coordinating dies from the kit. And now this is just one last thing that I'm going to do because I like the detail work. I wanted these snowflakes to pop a little bit more. So I'm putting my stencil back in place. This is my base layer for the snowflakes, and I am just using a white gel pen to trace around some of the larger ones. I didn't do any of the smaller ones because I didn't want to completely fill them in white. So I just left them be what they were. But for the larger ones, I just went in with my white gel pen, outlined these, and it adds another dimension, another layer of color, and helps it look much more dimensional, which I love. And then I did go in for like the tips of the snowflakes. I just filled those in with the little white dots, so that you could see those little extras. So my snow owls would fit in with my background. I am going to color the edge of my die cut. This is a Copic V09, V as in Victor 09, and it's a pretty good match for this eggplant, so I just colored around that, and then I will adhere everything together. All of these are matted on a white card base, because all of them have white in them, so white makes sense, and again, it's matchy-matchy, and I can have my set look the way that I want. So I did pop up the sentiment on this one as well. What am I even saying? What's happening, guys? As well as my owls. My brain apparently combined the 2 words. And then that's it for that card. For this one, instead of outlining it in white like I did the previous one, I'm actually going to outline this one in black. Is this necessary? No. Do I like it? Yes. Is it challenging to use a fine liner over colored pencils? Absolutely. So sometimes you can have the wax build up on the tip of your pen, and so it can cause it to not work or to work intermittently. You'll see by the end of it, I'm just kind of like scribbling off my pen on the middle of my card base because I'm going to cover it up anyway. But if you have any problems with that, you can just scribble it off. It'll work the wax off the end of it. But the skippy lines and stuff, I think, adds to the whimsy, so that really didn't bother me any, and it just helps give it a little bit more shape and definition to the coloring. And then, again, we're going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to mount this so it's matted with that white. And then for the sentiment, because I messed that one up, remember we have to cover up my boo-boo, I am going to pop that up on some foam tape, and then it'll just be popped up in the center. I really like the way this one came out. I think that little neighborhood is super cute for the holidays. And then this one is done as well. For the last one, I really didn't do too much. I didn't pop up my sentiment. I just put it right. I just glued it flat. And then I did pop up my owl and put him in kind of like the top branch portion. so that it looks like this pretty little flourishing branch is sticking out behind him. The branch at the bottom gives us a little bit of balance. The only other thing that I really did to this one was I did go in and just add in a couple of dots to kind of extend out that branch with my white gel pen. And then on the other card with the owls, as well as this one, I did go in with my white gel pen and just put in some kind of random highlights on the wings as well as like the top of the head. And this just is, you know, those little added details that you can do to kind of make your card your own. Do some of them, do none of them, do all of them, do whatever makes you happy. And then this is all 3 cards. So I hope this gets you excited to kind of use some of that darker colored cardstock that you have for some more dramatic coloring. I really appreciate your guys' time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.